10x your service design offering with Smaply. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smaply.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smaply, helping support This Is HCD podcast.
Hey everyone, it's Gerry here, and today on This Is HCD, we're doing something a little different. I'm joined by my long-term collaborator, Mike Parker, founder of Liminal Coaching, and someone I've personally worked with and benefited from hugely. Now, Mike helps people access the creative power of their subconscious, not through meditation or the traditional sense, but through what he calls liminal coaching. And it's something that I pay Mike for personally as well myself, because I find it so empowering and rewarding. So he leans, it's grounded in science. So one of my initial kind of thoughts about this was like, okay, is this something that's not really grounded in science, but it truly is grounded in science. And it's especially relevant for people working in high pressure roles like design, strategy, or leadership. Now, in this episode, we explore the power of the default mode network and how daydreaming is far from idle and how moments of intentional drift can unlock creative breakthroughs. I recall many instances over my life in this episode where I might be in the shower and I've got this idea. And that's the subconscious coming into the forefront of our brain and giving us those opportunities to tap into that world. It's for the first time ever in this podcast, Mike shares a live liminal moment session that you can follow along with as well. So if you're listening, find a quiet spot, let it wash over you. You don't want to miss this because basically I'm taking a live session with Mike and we get to experience how I actually experience those things. So there's three key takeaways from this episode that I want you to think about. One is intentional daydreaming. It is productive, okay? For too long in schools, we've been told, stop daydreaming, focus on the task at hand. That was the case when I was in school. I'm sure it probably hasn't changed too much, but really daydreaming is productive when it's used correctly. And when we allow ourselves to drift, like staring out the window or floating in water, we activate the brain's default mode network, a state linked to problem solving and creativity. Number two, you can train yourself to access liminality. Tools like Liminal Pomodoro encourage micro breaks throughout the day to reconnect with your subconscious, especially helpful for anyone navigating complex challenges or creative roadblocks. And number three, liminal coaching isn't woo or quack. It's rooted in cognitive science and used by leaders and teams across industries. The live session with Mike shares just proves how accessible and impactful this approach can be. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to have you explore liminal coaching yourself. But also, I'd love you to check out my free 5-day email course. It's designed to help you kickstart a human-centered service design approach within your organization. It's free. Just head over to This Is HCD to sign up. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get straight into this episode with Mike. So Mike Parker, I'm delighted to have you on the podcast. We've had you on before for any long-time listeners. The name Mike Parker will be synonymous with liminality. We did a great conversation about exploring that a little bit more and the role that can have in positive impact for change makers and people working in stressful environments. But generally speaking, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. How would you describe what you do, Mike?
I would describe it as helping people to access and take advantage of the real power of their subconscious and what it can do for them when they give it half a chance. And I guess I call it liminal coaching because liminal is about being halfway between one place and another. Yeah. And we specifically work with states where people are halfway between conscious and unconscious in that sort of dreamy half space in between waking and sleeping.
There's something beautiful about that when you think about it in terms of ecosystems as well. It's like the grid edge of things that we often talk about. Now, liminality and liminal, especially liminal thinking, that book that came out, Dave Gray wrote it actually was one of the books that I kind of pinpoint and why I went off and created this whole other world of This Is HCD. And I've said that to Dave when I've had him on the podcast. Absolutely critical. Let's talk about kind of liminal thinking, the book, and liminal coaching. There's a kind of a bridge there between yourself and Dave and the book and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Dave was in the process of finishing liminal thinking when I started this business. And he actually volunteered to be one of the people to test drive what I was developing. I was doing 3 sessions at the time. He really liked it, and we did a lot of sessions, and we spent a lot of time talking about that in between space and talking about liminal thinking. And actually it was his idea to say, he said one afternoon, why don't you call it liminal coaching? Because that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah. So why not?
So I want to speak from my own perspective, because like I have sessions with Mike, and I endorse, the practice and what it's given me. We're going to explore that a little bit more in this session, Mike, if you're open to it. Like, I know we've spoken about that stuff before, but generally speaking, something that you sent me there last week, and I was exploring it this week, so it's still kind of new in my life. Whereas I would ask a question to myself, like, I want to try and figure out some of these things. Some of them could be like, you might have seen I launched the Human-Centered Design Directory, this whole practice. I wanted to do that, but I didn't know what my first step should be. And I asked that as a question. That was maybe a couple of weeks ago. And I turned on the session with Mike, which it's an audio playing piece. And I allow myself to slip into this space, which we all have. We all have the potential to get into that headspace. The only way I can describe it, Mike, and tell me if I'm wrong, I sometimes feel that way when I'm in the sea. Okay, like, so when I lived in Australia, I'd regularly try and get into the sea, and I would go under the waves for a second. I just allow myself to bounce around, and it's that feeling of just drifting and exploring, that kind of texture and that whole kind of sense of when you're under the waves. That's what it feels like for me. And then I can come up for air when I choose. So it's like a form of meditation. But nearly always when I flow into that subconscious, the answer arrives. Yeah.
It's interesting you should say it's like a form of meditation. I guess you could say it is, but most meditation requires active cognitive focus. So you're actually concentrating on your breathing or a particular image or something. But the kind of state you're talking about, I often call it the drift.
Okay.
Because it's actually, you're not controlling it. You're simply allowing things to happen, and you're just drifting there without thinking about anything in particular. And we actually encourage people to develop that as a deliberate skill, as something that they can do whenever they want to, like for a few minutes. It's exactly the same as daydreaming. When you're staring out the window, eyes glazed over, stuff like that. It's like what's actually happening a lot of the time is that a large neural network in our brain becomes much more active, the default mode network, as they call it. And the default mode network is responsible for doing a large number of different things. But one of the things that we do know that it does is to come up with innovative ideas and to solve and to help solve for really complex problems. So it feels like to us, it feels like, oh yeah, I'm being an idle bastard sitting here, not doing anything in particular, staring out of the window. But actually, your brain can be using anything up to 20 times as much energy as when you're in your task-focused network, concentrating on something.
It's funny because the people, and this is what we were speaking about at the end of our last coaching session, where Mike coaches me, we were talking about organizational leaders who actually need to be in that mindset. But very often they're like a rabbit in the headlights, or very reactionary, and they're like, do that, yeah. Like everything is all pressure, emails, back-to-back meetings. It's impossible to get into that headspace. Whereas that default mode network that we're talking about, where we should be in, especially for processing large amounts of data. Try saying that to an organization where, like a Meta or a Google or even LinkedIn, where it's all on. How can somebody find that space?
I do think there is some receptivity to the reality of that in the past few years.
Okay.
So I think it's easier than it was. But one of the things that we do is that we provide our clients who are in that kind of situation with a printed exercise thing, which we call Liminal Pomodoro. Yeah. And it's a sheet which basically gives a simple exercise of stop every hour, set a timer, stop every hour, and deliberately daydream for five minutes or so. Okay. Mm-hmm. And here is the science. There's a couple of extracts and articles referenced from peer-reviewed research. Here's the science which says that if you're trying to solve complex problems, this is a really, really good thing to do, especially if you're in creative industries. So they have something to wave at anyone who comes past and says, why are you staring blankly out the window instead of doing something useful? And the feedback I've had from giving that to people is that it works for them really, really well. Really well.
Yeah. It's that liminal Pomodoro piece is what we were speaking about, because I practice Pomodoro when I'm up against it. So it's weaving the intentionality of the break. Because in Pomodoro, if you use, I use Flow, which is a Mac app, folks, which I set my rhythm to be like every 15 minutes to complete, and then I have a break. I might be switching a task, or maybe go and get a glass of water or something, then come back. Versus what my natural state is, headphones on, listening to some AC/DC, Akadaka, and really smashing it out for 4 hours. You know what I mean? And it's the conflict of that. It's the tension that I'm trying to get away from and have more space for myself. Kinder to myself.
Yeah, which, that's really important, actually.
Because I'm trying to treat myself, and that's with a capital S, I guess, better. And by 4 hours sitting here with AC/DC, Bon Scott screaming into my ears, as much as it is fantastic to listen to Bon Scott, sometimes I need to give myself a break and just have a daydreaming piece.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So we wanted to try something a little bit different in this podcast. Like, well, what are you open to doing? Because I know a number of the people that I call collaborators in my ecosystem in This Is HCD have reached out and have gone through the kind of liminal, and they've explored liminality with you. We want to do something a little bit different on this episode. So what are you open to sharing with the audience?
We've been working on looking at how can we actually try to give people the benefit of a lot of the effect of one of our guided relaxations, which generally tend to be 20 to 25 minutes.
Oh, nice.
In a much shorter space of time. So we've been developing this idea of what we call a liminal moment, which is about 6 to 7 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it actually contains all the core ideas and metaphors of the full-length guided relaxation, but you can use it just for 6 or 7 minutes. And the feedback we've had from that has been great so far. People have said, wow, I'm really surprised at how effective it is in such a short time. So I happen to have one here, which we could do, or you could insert the recording, and we would like to also give it away to your listeners.
So, all right, nice. So we'll embed it in. So we'll give the download, but we'll also I'll turn my camera off, but let's listen to it on live.
Okay.
So we can actually capture my own kind of. This is like a live coaching session. I don't know if I signed up for this one. Let's do it though. Like, let's, if people are listening and they want to hear it, like we're going to go through it live. I'll turn my camera off intentionally.
Okay. So we have a full length, very, very calming guided relaxation that we give a guided relaxation that we give away. When you sign up to the newsletter, we also give this moment, the liminal moment recording away on the website. And it is designed to really, really focus on relaxation. So this is the liminal moment from drift to peace. And it's not a meditation and it's not a tool. It's just a moment. It's a few minutes. We call it a short symbolic portal to a part of you that is already there just below the surface. So you can begin this exercise simply by relaxing every single muscle as much as you can. Take a deep, relaxed, easy breath in, breathing from your stomach, and slowly breathe out. And let all tension, stress, and anxiety just drift away from you completely. There's nothing to do. Just follow the drifts. And you find yourself now floating in a boat in the center of a beautiful lake. It's very calm and clear. You can see a simple house of wood on the shore. It's so quiet here, so very peaceful. The wind has dropped to almost nothing since you reached the middle of the lake. The water is clear and calm and flat, like a mill pond. Birds fly high in the sky. It's comfortably warm and sunny, and you lie peacefully in your boat, just gazing at the view. You can hear the sound of a bell ringing across the water, and each note relaxes you more and more, taking you deeper and deeper into calm tranquility. You stretch out in the boat, your head on a cushion, and just gaze up at the sky. And as you do, you suddenly know that you can let go of every bit of stress, every bit of worry and fear and tension, and just let it drift away from you into the sky, across the water, and into unbeing. A lily floats near you. It has a lovely scent, and a light is coming from it across the surface of the water. And as every fear, worry, and concern drift away from you completely, you allow the light from the lily to enter the center of your heart. And in your imagination, you place one hand gently on your chest, knowing that in the future, this gesture will bring you straight back to this peaceful, tranquil place. And you feel a great sense of peace and relaxation sweep through you. And you find you can think more clearly about what your priorities really are, about what's really important to you and your life and those you love. You're looking at what really is the best way to live your life, calmly and clearly in control, knowing that when you are calm, you are as in control of yourself and of your life as you can ever be. You just drift, allowing that calmness now to sweep through you, feeling the depth of water beneath the boats, the tranquility of the scene around you. the occasional splash of a fish, the calling of a bird, the water lapping gently around the hull. You breathe in the clear air, the golden light of the sun, filling you from head to toe as you drift here, watching a cloud pass by above you in the sky. You're completely at peace now. And every last bit of tension, every last bit of worry, every last fear and insecurity just spirals out of you, maybe like smoke from a bonfire, up into the sky, where it dissolves in the clear, pure air and is blown away to the 4 quarters of existence, never to be seen again. And in this place, you can always come to simply let go, to breathe, relax, and allow yourself to flow as the water flows around you now, full of that peaceful calm. The sun filling you with a great sense of harmony and peace and well-being that reaches out into the whole of your life, into every dimension. And now you let your awareness return gently to your breath, your body, the space around you, drifting back from the lake now, taking all the time you need, just drifting peacefully and easily back to ordinary waking, feeling grounded, spacious, and quietly energized.
All right. I'm back. It's mad because obviously I spoke about going under the waves, and I was like back in my mind. I was back in Bondi or in Australia, where close to where I lived for a short period. But it struck me that, say, when I lived overseas, Mike, especially in Sydney, where a lot of people surfed, there was an inadvertent liminality action happening with a lot of people. They were having those breaks. They were going to the sea. They were hearing these things, and that's what it potentially can give people. When you live in places where there's no surf, or there's no or there's a lack of opportunity to do that, we need to have some sort of intent to make space for these kind of things. And it's as similar for me in my own personal reflection is going under the waves, because that was just like, where I'm like, okay, I know if it's a couple of moments. I wasn't under there for minutes. Like, I was under there. I would always feel completely revitalized when I get out of the sea. And this is what it feels like, going back into the sea and allowing myself to just have space. That's kind of what it's like. And I found meditation over the years to be pass or fail, very binary. Like, I'd give myself a hard time when I, followed guided meditation. I was like, oh my God, here's that bloody thought again. And then I'm like, I failed. Oh God, okay, let's get back into the track. Where am I? Okay, I'm at my arm. Okay, my thoughts are on my arm. Good job. You're doing a good job following the thought with your arm. Oh, no. There's another thought coming in. Oh, God, I failed again. I hate you. Shut up. I'm in the middle of a meditation session. And they are the conversations that go on whenever I follow it, because my mind is like a series of monkeys in the zoo jumping around at times to time. And this way, it seems to be much more forgiving. And
that's why we always start out by saying, you don't necessarily even have to listen to it if you don't want to. You can think about whatever you like. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Let it just do its thing.
I remember the first time I had a session with you, Mike, and you went, so how was that? And I was like, oh man, now I have to say that I thought this bit of the bit was really good. And I go, truthfully, I kind of drifted off in the middle of it and kind of didn't really listen after that. And you go, that's fine. I was like, oh, really? That's allowed. And I was like, oh, of course it's allowed. That's the whole point of this piece.
Yeah.
So
We actually have a lot of people who are very, very happy with it all, by the way, tell me that they've listened to some of the guided relaxations like 20 or 30 times and they can't remember more than the first 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's actually fine.
Do you think, I'm just trying to put myself in other shoes, like, people would be like, yeah, Gerry, but, I work for myself. I can take space for this. And I'm just thinking of people who are working in design teams or innovation teams, or not even in design teams, but they're just generally under the pump. And to be able to ask for that, it's like, one, ask for permission, but then two, also, it's like speaking about this stuff can sometimes be seen as too out there, and the organization mightn't reward that, if that makes sense, that kind of thing. How do you see more organizations coming to the table on this? Because I know you've got a couple of clients at the moment.
I think this is actually a big part of our mission, is to help people to really truly understand how valuable this is for their teams in terms of their increased productivity. And it's not just increased productivity, but you could also actually probably reduce the number of sick days from stress and stuff like that as well. So it's a bit of a mission to explain and to demonstrate. But I find that if we get the opportunity to demonstrate it, then it's a no-brainer. Yeah. So we recently did an assessment series of assessment sessions for a large PR agency, and we did 23 one-to-one sessions for the whole of their senior exec team, and 2 group sessions. And at the end of that, the CEO came back to me and said, "Well, we've just got 100% approval from everybody for what we've just done, and 100% of the people who did it say they want to do more of it." Yeah, because it's so beneficial. So, I mean,
I know from personal, so I am endorsing this, but generally speaking, the metrics that are associated with meditation, I think there's a correlation between what we're talking about here. So if people are in organizations and they're looking to speak more openly about bringing this kind of stuff in-house, reduction in sick days, less irritability, more, better processing power, all of this different stuff. I think you can get a lot of that stuff online about the benefits of meditation for professional people.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it's just the bit that I find kind of mystical. I hate saying that word in this context, but the asking a question and finding the answer is not wacky-backy kind of talk, because, I've mentioned before, I think I was telling you about the John Cleese story of Fawlty Towers, where he wrote the first script and then lost it before he had to send it to the BBC to be made. And then he wrote it from sort of his recall. And that second draft is what got made the first series of Fawlty Towers. And he tells the story of finding that first script when he was, leaving a house because he was divorced, and he found it down the back of the desk. And what he saw was the difference between, he was now in that ability to be able to reflect. The first script was not as good as the second script. The second script was considerably better. He said it tied up a lot of the loose ends in the script, and all the story arcs were kind of more rounded and completed. And the only thing that he can really put it down to was the subconscious continuously working on those arcs, those narratives, the story arcs. And that's kind of what I'm expecting you to probably just say, the answer why this happens. But
Yeah, I think that is why it happens.
Yeah.
It's interesting, when you were talking about asking the question, you reminded me of a story about there's a very well-respected, very well-known neuroscientist who refuses to go public with the fact that when he has a real problem or something that he's working on and he's stuck with it at some point with his thinking, he will imagine himself writing it down on a piece of paper like a letter to his subconscious, and he'll imagine himself posting it through a letterbox to his subconscious before he goes to sleep. And he'll wake up the next morning and know what he needs to do next, or what the next step is in the thing that he's trying to develop or the thing he's trying to investigate. And to me, that's really logical, because what you're doing is you symbolically sending a message to your subconscious saying, hey, give us a hand with this. Yeah. And there's nothing it likes better. It just says, yeah, sure, of course, no problem. Here you go.
Yeah.
But what's really odd is that a neuroscientist should feel embarrassed by doing that, so that they don't want to go public about it.
Yeah, it's that itself is strange, but it does work. I mean, this is what you sometimes hear people say, oh, the best ideas I have come in the shower. And as a songwriter in a previous life, I still write songs. People would say, it just struck me one day. You know, I was out walking and I had this melody arrive into my head. Like U2, Bono, all of these, Springsteen, they all speak about this thing that just runs through them when song ideas come to them. And it's not left to chance. It's usually why bands go away to other places that are really chilled, like Jamaica. Like the Police went down there to record, can't remember the name of the last album, it was Chaos. But anyway, they go away so they can actually slip into this world. And this is one of the secret powers for people, I believe, who are really proactive and can actually achieve quite a lot. And it's one of the things that I inadvertently were doing over the last number of years, but now it's much more focused with intent through the help of Mike and Liminal Coaching.
I do think that all of us actually, when we aren't under a huge amount of stress, and honestly, a very negative work culture has got a lot to do with this problem.
Yeah.
But normally, all of us would just instinctively and intuitively take those breaks and spend that time because it feels good. But then there's this weird kind of Western thing of, well, if it feels good, it can't be work, right?
Yeah.
If you're not suffering, it's not work.
Absolutely. Like, you know, work should be hard, like that whole kind of mindset, like you should be. And a lot of the people listening to this podcast, you know, are absolutely working night and day. I know a lot of people, I get the emails from people, and it is hard. It is really hard. You're expected to do an awful lot more with less. And if this speaks to you, like, I encourage you to go over and that free download that's in the description or in the show notes. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple or anywhere else, just check it out, give it a chance. And, you know, connect with Mike on LinkedIn. Like, you know, you're active on LinkedIn, or send him an email. Like, I think you're, can't remember the name of your email address. I think it's mike@liminalcoaching.com, is it?
Yeah. We do free half-hour chats for anybody, and they really are free and with no obligation. Yeah.
Fantastic. Mike,
I talk to people, you know, you can tell, right?
Yeah, but you could definitely, I could see the role of elder coming in and doing more of these kind of live sessions if you want for listeners. If that's something you do want, let me know. Send me an email, give me a thumbs up or whatever it is. Send me a message on LinkedIn. Because I think it would be a really nice thing to weave some of this stuff in with intent into the podcast, to encourage more people to get exposed to it, because I believe that this is something that we can all tap into more, become a lot more reflective, a lot more kind of less triggered by the work that we're doing as well. And
I'd love to do that. I think that would be really good.
Cool. Mike, listen, look, this is an unusual one for our listeners, but I think people are going to love this. I wrap every session up on This Is HCD by thanking the guests for their time, their energy, and their vulnerability. In this instance, I've been probably a little bit more vulnerable than you because I'm speaking about my own mind, but I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your brilliance with the community. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to see you.